Welcome. I'm David O'Shaughnessy, the Executive Director of the Ohio Dental Association, and I have with me today Eric Richmond, who is the Director of Legal and Legislative Services for the ODA. Welcome, Eric.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So we decided to do this video because there's been some activity at the State House involving one of our legislative priorities. For a number of years, we've been trying to address the problem of dental insurers dictating what dentists can charge for services the dental insurers don't even cover. And so recently, after several years of working this issue and educating policymakers, there has been a positive development. A law has been passed we have been working on for, as I said, several years. Eric, tell us about how this law came to fruition, and then we'll talk about the specifics.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, this has been something that the ODA has been working on for quite a long time. And it's come to fruition this year in Senate Bill 40. A little bit of a different process of how it went through. It was amended into a different bill, another dental bill that was going on, and it ended up passing through the Senate and the House. The House passed the bill by a vote of 80-11, and then the Senate concurred in those amendments because it was amended in a different bill by a vote of 24-9. So both of those went through with a veto proof, basically, going to the governor, and then the governor signed that on July 24th. So it's been a great summer.
So Governor DeWine signed it into law on July 24th, and that also happened to be the opening of the State Fair, correct?
That's right. We both got to go to the Fine Arts Building at the Ohio State Fair and watch him put pen to paper and sign the bill.
So the governor decided to sign a number of bills sort of as state government day at the State Fair. And so it was a unique setting for a bill signing ceremony, and it was fun to do. Let's get to the specifics. As I mentioned, and most of you probably are well aware, over the last several years, dental insurers have been telling dentists what they can charge for their enrollees for services that the dental insurers do not even cover. And we believe that's fundamentally inconsistent with what dental insurance is all about. Dental insurance is supposed to be about dental insurers providing a certain reimbursement for covered services. Really, the idea of dental insurance does not involve non-covered services. And yet, over the years, the insurers have begun adopting this policy of telling dentists what they can charge for non-covered services. And oftentimes, those non-covered services are elective type procedures. They're procedures that are not covered. So in this bill, now law, that has been signed into law, the language says that no contract or agreement between a dental insurer and a dental care provider shall do any of the following, and here's the operative language: require that a dental care provider accept as payment an amount set by the dental insurer for dental care services provided to an enrollee unless the services are covered services. So explain to me what that means. What's that legalese mean?
So looking at the other part of the bill, there's a definition section that defines what covered dental services are. So that's the operative language, is what is covered. So a covered dental service means dental care services for which reimbursement is available under the enrollee's healthcare contracts, or for which reimbursement would be available but for the application of contractual limitations such as deductible, copayment, coinsurance, waiting period, annual or lifetime maximum, frequency limitations, things like that. So what it does is it defines what are covered benefits, and then, as the section that you just read says, that they're only allowed to do that for services that are covered, to be able to dictate that. So what does that mean? It means that anything that is not a covered dental service, as to what the bill or what the law now states, the other things would be non-covered services. And so that section that you were discussing, that no contract or agreement can do anything outside of dictating for covered services, it goes on to talk about what the dentist then has to do in order to basically opt out of what the covered or what the non-covered services fee schedule would be.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. First, you define covered services for us, and essentially a way to think of what non-covered services are then, they are services that have never been covered on the contract. It doesn't involve fee limitations, annual maximums. If a service has never been covered, it is a non-covered service. And as I mentioned, oftentimes those are elective type procedures. if the dentist decides to opt out of non-covered services, the dental insurer can no longer dictate fees for those non-covered services. But there are some specific requirements that a dentist would have to do. First and foremost, the dentist will have to opt out. So a contract may still have a non-covered services provision, but the dental insurer can't require the dentist to accept that non-covered service provision, correct?
That's correct. And they can't make it contingent either, that they have to accept this and then say contingent upon you accepting this non-covered fee service, then you can have the rest of the contract. That's specific into the law, and you cannot make it contingent upon you agreeing to that. However, it does state that you could, if somebody wanted to, they could continue to accept that fee schedule for non-covered services, but you definitely have the option not to, and the insurer cannot make it contingent upon the rest of your contract. You do that.
So under this new law, then, a dentist has a new right. He or she can opt out of a non-covered service provision in a dental insurer contract, and the dental insurer cannot hold that against the dentist or in any way treat the dentist differently.
Yes,
correct?
That's correct. The only thing that they can do in that scenario is they can dictate in their information to enrollees dentists that do not accept their non-covered fee service schedule. But they cannot treat them differently in any of those publications. They can't say that they're not an enrolled dentist in the program.
Or exclude them from directories or anything like that. So really, if you exercise your right to opt out of the non-covered services, the dental insurer cannot in any way use that against you as a participating provider. Okay, having said that, there is a specific requirement under the law that a dentist needs to provide notice to his or her patients. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So whenever if you're going to decide to opt out of non-covered services fee schedule, then you will have to, when a patient comes in, there are certain things you'll need to do when you're going to perform a non-covered service on that patient. You would need to make sure that you're providing the patient with an estimate of what that is going to cost in your office. You also need to make sure that you are looking at telling them exactly what you're expecting the insurance company to cover, which in a non-covered services situation is zero. So you're going to be able to tell the patient, this is what they're asking me to charge you as a non-covered service. They're not going to reimburse any of that. And then this is what my normal fee schedule is, exactly what I would charge anybody else.
And you no longer have to discount it pursuant to the dental insurer's dictates.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so, and then also, if it was a service situation where there were covered services and non-covered services being done at the same time, you would also have to disclose what the reimbursement rate would be for the covered services and an estimate of what that cost would be, and then the patient would be able to see what their insurance company is paying for in that scenario.
And then, is there any type of notice that the dentist needs to provide to the patients?
Yes. So there's one other aspect of that, and it's very clear in the law that you need to have a notice that has to be in a conspicuous place in your office, being able to be seen by patients. And that notice would have to say that the dental care provider does not accept the fee schedule set by your insurer for dental care services that are not covered benefits under your plan, and instead charges his or her normal fee for those services. This dental care provider will provide to you with an estimate of cost for each non-covered service.
So essentially, if a dentist decides to opt out of the non-covered services provision of a dental insurer contract, they merely have to inform the patient that the dentist will be charging his or her normal fee, and that has to be posted in a conspicuous place in the office, perhaps in a waiting room or at the front desk. The Ohio Dental Association has created this table tent that actually has the disclaimer printed out on both sides. Would be easy to put into a waiting room or at your front desk, and it would make you compliant with the law. We will have these available at annual session on September 12th through the 14th in Columbus, Ohio. We've printed up a bunch of these for our members, so if you come to the exhibit hall, come to the membership booth, we will have these table tents available to you, sort of a celebration that we pass non-covered services and that you can use this tool to notify your patients that you're exercising your right to charge your normal fee for non-covered services. So we're really excited about that. The last thing we should probably mention is the effective date, because while this law has now been signed by Governor DeWine, there's varying levels of effectiveness on this.
So the effective date of any law passed in the state of Ohio is always 90 days after the signing by the governor. The only exceptions to that would be if there was an emergency clause, which there was not in this bill. which is not a very common thing. So 90 days from July 24th, the effective date of the law is October 21st of this year. So we're looking at that date. That's when the law becomes effective. However, there is language in the law now that states that the provisions we just talked about, not being allowed to dictate these fee schedules and having to opt out of them for a dentist, contracts that are entered into, amended, or signed after January 1st of 2025 cannot require a dentist to accept that non-covered services fee schedule. So the important thing I think for our dentists out there is to make sure that you understand when your contract renews, what that looks like, but then also to just have a conversation with the insurance company. If it's before January 1st of 2025 when your contract renews, they could look to that and say maybe they would not enforce certain provisions of non-covered services, but they still could because those were pre-existing contracts to the law, and they wouldn't be able to go back and retroactively take those out. However, after January 1 of 2025, any contract going forward at that point that is renewed or amended or signed would then not be allowed to have those provisions dictating you to accept the non-covered services.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I don't think so.
That
I think
covers it pretty well.
It's been a great summer. Obviously, this is a huge legislative victory. A lot of you all have definitely been out there working this, speaking with legislators day at the State House for the last 8+ years. We've been talking about this, and the good news is the message finally got across to the legislators. We were able to get this across the finish line.
So the bottom line is, with the passage of this legislation, dentists have new rights to combat some of the abusive tactics that dental insurers use. Specifically on this one, the non-covered services, they can no longer dictate to you what you charge for services that the insurers do not cover. You just need to exercise your right to opt out of that provision in any contract, new contract after January 1, 2025, or renewed contract after that date. Exercise your right to opt out if you so choose. Provide a disclaimer a notice to your patient that you're opting out, and you can charge your regular fee for any service that is not covered by the dental insurer. And with that, we appreciate your attention to this. We view this as a positive development for the dentists of Ohio, so we wanted to share this through a video. And there has been some additional legislative victories and developments. So you'll likely get additional access to additional videos in the future. Talk about a bill that passed, actually part of Senate Bill 40, that joins Ohio to the Dentist and Dental Hygienist Licensure Compact that promotes freedom of movement. Also, an update from last year when the General Assembly passed a historic budget that included a fee increase for dental Medicaid. So fees on average went up 93%, so almost a doubling of Medicaid fees in the dental Medicaid program. So a lot has been going on, but we'll cover some of that in a future video. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this information valuable. And if you have any questions about this or any other legislative issue, you can certainly contact the ODA at 614-486-2700 or email Eric at oda.org. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.